The issue opens where we see Spider-Man combating his monstrous demonic clone Spider-Side above the New York rooftops. Finally knocking the hulking brute to the ground, the demon claimed that this battle was not over, only for Peter to web his mouth shut and proceeded to knock his self-proclaimed brother unconscious. As the authorities brought the being into custody, Spidey then swung away, reflecting on his life. Despite all the horrible things that had happened to him over the years, Peter reminded himself on how blessed he truly was and that people appreciated his work as a hero. Coming back to his apartment, Peter got ready for bed to finally catch up on some rest after his day-long battle. The next morning, Peter's senses awoke him to the mysterious sound of voices all around him. These voices just so happened to be New York City police officers who had their guns drawn on the man, telling him to get up. Asking just what the heck was going on, the officers told him to freeze and put his hands in the air. Complying with the officers, Peter raised his arms and asked just what he did for them to barge into his apartment with their weapons drawn. Just then, Peter's supposed landlord Oswaldo arrived, informing the officers that he had no idea who Peter was and demanded for him to leave. Completely confused, Peter went to show proof that he lived here, only to realize that all of his belongings had up and vanished. Giving Peter one final chance to leave peacefully, the wall crawler sadly obliged and made his way outside. Having no idea what was happening, Peter turned to the one person that he could confide in during times like these, and that would be his Aunt May. However, not even she could save him this time, for she had no idea who this complete stranger was calling her, and basically thought Peter was a telemarketer who she told to get lost. Horrified at this occurrence, Peter then turned to Mary Jane, who he called repeatedly, only for her not to answer. He then booked it over to her apartment where he found her, only for her to also be under this supposed spell, where she didn't know who Peter was and presumed that he was some sort of stalker. MJ then called for help, where Peter soon found himself surrounded by an angry mob of real-life Twitter warriors. Knowing not even he stood a chance against a group that powerful, he then ran where he came across a construction site. Seeing this as the perfect spot to lay low, he went to climb down the giant pit, only for his hands not to stick to the wall, where he then plummeted to the pit's depths, badly hurting his back. It was here a shocked and frightened Peter then realized that not only did his family not recognize him, he also did not have his powers. He then tried one last-ditch effort to call the Avengers using his private line, only to get an automated message saying it did not exist. Seeing that he was completely alone in this dark world, Peter then received a series of strange text messages asking him if he wanted his life back. He was then followed by several more messages telling him to meet at track 31 of Grand Central Station at midnight. Alone and powerless, Peter had no choice but to obey the words of this mysterious stranger. Arriving at the mysterious track 31, Peter boarded the abandoned train car, where he was soon met by a voice behind him. It was here that he was met by a disgusting and disturbing sight, which was the train's conductor, who had a gaunt pale face, a twisted long drooling smile, and most horrifying of all, sunken in crimson eyes with blood falling down his cheeks. The crooked conductor then asked the frightened Peter for his ticket, where he told him that he did not have one. Not pleased at this response, the man's already twisted body contorted even further, where he then summoned a hammer and went to collect the fare by brutally attacking Peter with it. Having no abilities or spider sense to help him, Spider-Man relied on nothing but pure intuition and adrenaline to keep himself alive as he evaded this pursuer. Heading further and further into the hellish train car, Peter finally stumbled across some guests, where he told them that they all needed to leave, for there was something wrong with the train's conductor. It is here that we see the patrons show themselves as hideous boar-like human hybrids, covered in blood, who expressed their delight at how delicious a main course Peter looked, revealing that this whole time they had been dining on human flesh. Completely disgusted, horrified, and confused, Peter once again fled to another car and slammed the door behind him. Peering into the window of unending darkness, Spider-Man tried to catch a glimpse of where this train was headed, only to soon be met by a familiar, horrifying pair of glowing eyes. Once again being attacked by the corpse-like conductor, Peter continued to run from the stalker, all while the other patrons looked on with twisted smiles of delight, warning him not to be caught.